This is the story of the 297 years that were stolen from history, and the man who dared to find them. Our story begins not in the Dark Ages, but in 1991. German historian Heribert Illig, a meticulous researcher, is lost in the quiet chaos of a Munich archive. He isn't just reading history, he's feeling its texture, searching for a seam, a crack. And he finds one. Not in a grand event, but in a quiet, bureaucratic discrepancy. The Gregorian calendar reform of 1582.
Pope Gregory XIII ordered 10 days removed to correct the Julian calendar's drift. The math was sound, but when I calculated the cumulative error back to the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, the numbers whispered a secret. The drift wasn't 10 days, it was more than that.
To Illig, the math screamed that approximately 297 years of historical chronology were unaccounted for. A phantom gap from 614 to 911 AD. His mind raced. Was it a simple error? Or was it something far more sinister? He began to see shadows where others saw facts. He formulated a hypothesis so audacious it would make him a pariah or a prophet, that this period was a wholesale fabrication.
They had the motive. Otto III, the Holy Roman Emperor, yearned to rule in the year 100,000 AD, a millennial kingdom. But the calendar refused to cooperate. So he and the scholarly Pope Sylvester II, they simply invented the years. They backdated history, inserting 3 centuries of fiction to place themselves at the dawn of a new millennium.
The stakes were unimaginable. If true, it meant rewriting history itself. The Carolingian Renaissance, the reign of Charlemagne, the very father of Europe. Was it all an elaborate fantasy? A narrative constructed by a powerful few to cement their legitimacy? Illig began amassing evidence, building his case not on a single fact, but on a pervasive absence. A silence where there should have been noise.
It is a classic case of finding what you're looking for. The absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
But the absences were compelling. Architectural styles in Europe seemed to jump ahead with no clear evolution. The archaeological record for the period was suspiciously thin. And then the most tantalizing clue of all, the celestial clock.
The account of a supernova in 1054 AD, observed by Chinese and Arab astronomers, is notably absent from all European chronicles.
To Illig, this was a smoking gun. How could every European scholar have slept through a star exploding in the sky? Unless they weren't there to see it. Unless those chroniclers and the era they documented simply didn't exist. The historical community reacted with a mix of amusement and contempt. But Illig's idea had been unleashed. It was a virus of doubt, and it found a willing host in a public ever eager to question official stories. The battle for history was on. The phantom time hypothesis needed more than just gaps. It needed proof. Illig and a small band of independent researchers scoured the world for evidence that could withstand the onslaught of academic scorn. They pointed to the scarcity of original documents from the phantom centuries. They questioned the authenticity of those that did exist, suggesting they were clever forgeries from a later era.
Look at the architecture. The Romanesque style emerges nearly fully formed. Where are the transitional buildings? The clumsy experiments? It's as if someone described a Roman arch and a Gothic vault, and then simply invented the steps in between.
But the establishment had its own weapons, and they were formidable. Their champion was dendrochronology, the science of tree ring dating. Scientists presented master chronologies from ancient oak and pine trees, some over 2,000 years old. Their rings showed an unbroken, year-by-year record right through Illig's phantom period. No gap, no missing centuries. The trees, it seemed, had kept a perfect diary of time.
Our cross-dated sequences from European and North American trees show continuous, overlapping growth patterns that definitively confirm the annual solar cycle for the past 2 millennia. There is no disruption.
The astronomical counterattack was even more devastating. Critics ran the calculations Illig had based his entire theory on and found a critical flaw. He had miscalculated the exact starting point for the Julian calendar's drift. When done correctly, the math perfectly aligned with the 10-day correction in 1582. Illig's foundational pillar crumbled to dust. The conspiracy would have required not just altering historical records, but faking the very rotation of the Earth.
It's a fascinating thought experiment, but that's all it is. You cannot fake supernovae. You cannot fake tree rings. The conspiracy you describe would require the silent compliance of thousands across continents and generations. It is quite literally incredible.
One by one, the evidences were dismantled. The architectural jumps were explained by periods of rapid innovation following turmoil. The missing solar event was attributed to European weather and poor record-keeping, not a missing epoch. The case for phantom time was being systematically erased from the realm of plausible theory and placed firmly into the cabinet of historical curiosities.
They used their own system to prove their own system. The trees are dated by the history I claim is false. The astronomy is calculated by the calendar I say is fabricated. It is a closed loop, a perfect, unassailable prison of dates.
Yet, in his defeat, a more profound question emerged. Why did this idea, so thoroughly debunked by experts, capture the imagination of so many? Why does it persist in documentaries, forums, and online communities to this day? The answer lies not in history, but in human psychology. The phantom time hypothesis is a key that unlocks a door. On the other side is a world more exciting, more mysterious than the one in our textbooks. It empowers the individual to become a secret knower, a rebel against the monolithic experts. It turns all of us into potential Heribert Illigs, alone in a vast archive, on the verge of a discovery that could change everything. And that allure is a power that no scientific paper can ever truly defeat. So, where does that leave us? Heribert Illig's hypothesis was rejected, but his question lingers like a ghost. It forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. History is not a perfect recording. It is a story, written by the victors, shaped by biases, and full of gaps we fill with our own assumptions. The phantom time conspiracy may be false, but it is a powerful metaphor for how history can be manipulated, how narratives are constructed, and how easily facts can be lost to time. This story is a lesson in skepticism. Not the corrosive kind that rejects all evidence, but the healthy kind that asks, who wrote this and why? It warns us of the danger of Eurocentric narratives that place one civilization's calendar at the center of time itself. Most importantly, it celebrates the human mind's endless quest for pattern and meaning, even when it sees phantoms in the fog. The real conspiracy isn't that time was stolen. It's that we so easily accept a simplified story. The legacy of phantom time is not a corrected calendar, but a provoked thought. It reminds us that our past is a fragile human construct. It is our responsibility to guard it, not with blind faith, but with rigorous evidence, relentless curiosity, and the humility to admit that some mysteries are not doorways to hidden truths, but monuments to the fascinating ways we can be wrong. Heribert Illig was incorrect. But in his magnificent error, he gave us something perhaps more valuable than a fact. A perspective, a reminder to look at the world and our past from a different angle, and to always question the story you're told.